Should we start? Thank you to everyone for coming today to Net Impact's first speaker event of the quarter. Today, we are delighted to welcome our guest speaker, Anshu Rai. Anshu is the graduate assistant and software engineer at Frugal Innovation Hub. And she's also a grad student here at SU pursuing a degree in computer science in the engineering school. Before starting the grad program, Anshu worked at Deloitte for 3 years. And right now, she's also the program manager intern at Sioka Center in the business school. Anshu is passionate about business, technology, and making a difference in the society we live in. And today, she will be talking about the Frugal Innovation Hub on campus and how they work towards providing humanitarian aid to people and societies in need all around the world. Now, I will be handing it over to Anshu.
Thank you, Manaswini, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday evening. I'm very excited to be presenting to you. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, let me know if you can see it. Oops. Okay. So for this little session, I have just one ground rule. And the ground rule is for you all to interact with me. I'm not a faculty, I'm not a professor here. I'm just a peer, another student in Santa Clara University. So there's just one rule. Just talk with me, ask me questions, and interact whenever I ask you or if you just have a doubt. All right. Since this is the School of Business that I'm talking to, one of the most common definitions of business when I was looking online was business is the production, distribution, and sale of goods and services for a profit. And my goal for this session is at the end of it, I would like for you to maybe kind of redefine it or at least get a different perspective of what business is to you. And we'll do that little activity at the end, but this is my goal. This is my focus for the session, all right? So let's get started. Here I'm going to show you a bunch of images. The first one is of this man. He's bringing milk to his community and looks like there's some kind of a pipe in between. And using that funnel, he's distributing milk by maintaining social distancing. This is during COVID times. In the second picture, you see a little bike here, but I guess someone was too lazy to pedal, so they decided to put in a solar panel right on top. And the last image, you see this shower head with like a vessel attached on top, and it looks like someone's heating up their water. So do the below images solve a problem? Y'all can nod your head or give me a thumbs up if you feel that. All right, it does, right? It looks like all of them seem to be solving a problem. So here's my question to you. What are the common characteristics of all of these solutions? And y'all can raise a hand or just like go unmute yourself and tell me what you think.
It look like everyday household items that we can, things just out of our house or our homes or accessible things.
Looks like they're utilizing existing technology.
Yep. Anyone else? Okay, no, you are right. Oh, go ahead. You on?
I was going to say that like these are not mass-produced items, right? So like everything was created at home for sure.
Correct, you all are right. And this is kind of what frugal engineering is. To do something with what you already got. These are simple things, they're affordable, and they solve a problem. So this is primarily what frugal engineering is. And here's what frugal innovation is again. You create solutions for people with limited economic resources by emphasizing on users' requirements and functionality. So you've got to make sure that they're simple, they're affordable, and they're high performance. That's when they're a good solution. And you always have to consider the ecosystem. So whoever you're creating it for, you got to see what their culture is like, their environment. Do they really need these solutions? So that is what frugal innovation is for us. And if you see this little image here, you see a pyramid of wealth distribution. And you see the bottom of the pyramid, that's where the most number of people exist. These are people who are big in numbers, but not in wealth and not in resources either. So these are the kind of people who need a lot, but don't have anything. But sadly, most of the population, they work for people right on top of the pyramid. The last 45.9% of the money, the wealth, which exists in our society, we all tend to work for them. So at Frugal Innovation Hub, we target the people at the bottom of the pyramid, the grassroots problems, and we design solutions for them. People who can't even sometimes frame their own problems. They don't even know how to tell you what kind of a solution they need. But, we go and target them and we ask them what it is. We talk with them and go ahead and providing a solution for them. Okay, I told you like the last point in frugal innovation is context and ecosystems. And with regard to that, I have this little example for you. Here in this image, you see two shampoo bottles. One is the standard size shampoo, which is 13 ounces, and the second one is a travel size, which is about 3 ounces. The big one costs about $5.2. The smaller one costs $3. However, if you look at the fine print, you'll notice that the bigger bottle, the amount that you're paying per ounce is just 40 cents. Whereas the smaller one, the travel size shampoo, you're paying $1. If you go to Costco or the stores here, you might just pick up the bigger bottle. You're like, hey, you know what? It's more economically efficient. I'd rather buy that one. But however, when it came to markets in Asia or South America, both these bottles didn't work. They both kind of failed. And companies like Unilever really try to understand what is happening, what is the ecosystem there. And it turns out that if they sold these shampoos in sachets and sold them for about like $0.3, it was way more likely to be bought. And that is because people there happen to be earning like on a day-to-day basis. Their wages were day-to-day. They couldn't afford even a travel size bottle. They wanted a sachet. So it's important to understand the ecosystem for us, wherever it is that we are creating solutions. Another example was this case study of women carrying water from rivers in Uganda. So a little story here. So these women in Uganda happened to go to rivers, and they'd go in groups, carry like these big loads of water in these jugs or buckets, and they would bring it back to their town, wherever they were living. And in that process, it would take a lot of time and a lot of effort for them to go and come and keep doing this on a day-to-day basis. So a bunch of engineers went here and they're like, hey, you know what, this seems like a problem. Let us give them a solution. They built an amazing bucket, kind of well-engineered, well-designed bucket, lightweight, all of that. And they gave it to them. But sadly, they didn't use them. They didn't even end up touching it to be using it for like any kind of long-term purposes. Can anyone tell me why they didn't use it? Y'all can unmute yourself.
You're not familiar with it?
Yep, that's a good point. Anyone else?
Maybe they had to pay for the bucket.
No, they didn't. It was free. That was just given to them.
Oh, okay.
could they just be used to their ways of doing things and not, being open or being a little skeptical about the new system?
No, sadly, no. It was something that was very similar to what they already had, but just more efficient. It was lightweight and things like that. Okay, I'm going to tell you the solution. So what the problem was is these women, they loved going to the rivers and talking. They didn't like the fact that taking the water and putting it into their bucket would reduce their time of spending that they would spend near the rivers, where they would talk with each other and spend time away from the men in their community. So a lot of times these problems happen in real life too. Millions of dollars get spent on solutions that aren't really needed. And that's something we also need to understand in the ecosystem and the context and the culture where we're coming from. All right. This is something we do concentrate on. So here's what frugal engineering is, right? We engineer a product that is affordable, simple, it is efficient, right? It's a fantastic product. It solves things. But for us, when you say frugal innovation, it isn't just about giving someone the light bulb, but it's also about, hey, how sustainable is it? Can we maintain it? Is there a person who can market it for us? Because if I provide a light bulb to just like 3 houses, how much of a sustainable impact am I making? If I give this light bulb to an entire community and let them know that, hey, there is this product, it's cheap and you can fix it wherever, that's when you really make an impact. And that is what frugal innovation is for us, with an entire, business model here. So here's another little quiz. Here you see one man, he is watering his plants with a bottle, and it seems to be working just fine. And another group of people who are making this kind of a boombox, I suppose, with a solar panel for energy, all of these wires attached. Which of these do you think is frugal innovation? Y'all can lift hands. Who thinks that the first image is frugal innovation? Okay. All right, we've got some numbers. Who thinks the second image is what frugal innovation is? Okay, looks like some people think both of them are. But the sad answer is both aren't. You see, both these products happen to be simple. Yes, they solve a problem. They're frugal, engineered solutions. But they're not innovations that can be brought to the market. There's no business model supporting it. You've got to look into like who needs it and whether or not it's a viable product when you're actually selling it to people. So both of them don't happen to be a frugal innovation product. So let me give you an example of a well-established frugal innovation product. So M-Pesa happens to be this company, or solution rather. It was a service that was given to people in Kenya. So in this service, you have these phones where you could transfer money without like internet. These are not even smartphones that they had. They just had dumb phones. And they would be able to transfer money through it. And through this company, they were able to transfer more than the Western Union together in 1 year, and they removed 2% of the population in Kenya outside poverty line because they were able to set up these like little offices where they were able to help them. Now you see, here they gave them a very viable product. Economically, it was definitely viable, and people could easily tell each other, hey, look at this product. You and me, everyone can use it. It was easy to sell to the people and create a real good impact, basically. So now I'm going to tell you about what happens in Frugal Innovation Hub, where we really empower the helpers of the world. This is the team. Dr. Sylvia is our main associate professor. She's the director. We have Alan, who happens to be the director of programs, and Abhilash, who happens to be another TA who works with me, and the last one is me. So a primary mission at Frugal Innovation Hub is making sure students and faculty are engaged in humanitarian projects through partnerships, through programs. We partner with other companies, sometimes Xilinx, Cisco, Twitter, etc., and sometimes with other organizations who come to us, like, they could be NGOs who want some help, and they have a limited amount of money that they want to spend. So that's when we step in and we kind of help them out. These are the projects, and like this is in the world map where we've sort of deployed projects from the last, I think, 10 years in Alaska, Hawaii area, and Latin America, and California, of course, we're right here, Asia, Africa. And you can see here, students have actually traveled to these places. So we haven't just built products here, but we've also made sure we've gone there and deployed those solutions and made sure it's sustainable wherever it is we've deployed it. And these are some pictures of our students from Santa Clara helping out, like at the location, deploying projects. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the examples of the projects that we've done at Frugal Innovation Hub. One of which is called Haiti Help. It is a health education app for girls in rural Africa. So there is this number, about 1 in 10 girls in sub-Saharan Africa miss school during their period, and therefore are more likely to drop out of school altogether. And in Kenya, there happens to be this social and cultural taboo, especially when it comes to the women's reproductive health. And the girls, as they grew up, they kind of grew up isolated from the knowledge of, how to maintain hygiene and how to sort of handle like what's going to happen. They just don't know a whole lot about it. And this creates a barrier for them as they, grow up and as they become a woman. And to help solve this issue, this app was created. And it's a very educational application where these young girls in schools, mostly it's animated, where they're taught about hygiene. They're taught about like the lessons in terms of lessons as to what to do, how to do it. And it was deployed. And it was a very successful project that happened there, and it helped them quite a bit. Another example is the Galapaga guide that was created. This kind of happened in our university. It was a senior design project. So Galapagos Islands is this beautiful islands. It's near Ecuador. And this is where Charles Darwin actually came up with the theory of evolution. It's this beautiful island with a very unique species that are there. They rely heavily on tourism, but there are very limited resources there. One is there isn't internet accessibility, not too much internet accessibility. So even if you were to give them an app, it needs to be using less internet. It should be able to do that. So what our students did is they built an application which would provide information to people who would want to visit Galapagos Islands. And with information, they were suggested like, hey, how about you visit like all the hiking destinations, all the places that they can go, all the major tourism spots, the do's and don'ts in the island, like don't throw around your stuff because these creatures happen to be very unique to the islands. So it's informational, and they can like book hotels and go to restaurants and stuff like that through this app. And this was one of the examples of it. It's still an ongoing project in our Frugal Innovation Hub, and you can come and check it out if you happen to visit our lab. Oops. So the next example that we've sort of a project that was deployed is Pedal for Purification. This was deployed in Guatemala. So what happens is, what happened was here, there's a very big clean drinking water problem. So there were water like sources, but the thing is the water was not clean. And what our students did, again, this was a senior design project that was taken up, was they created a device that draws water from the source. The people, they sit on these bikes and they pedal, and when they pedal, that pedaling turns into energy that sort of purifies the water and gives them clean drinking water. This was deployed there, and there were really nice pictures of it. There's even a video if you guys are interested. Y'all will find it on the Frugal Innovation Hub. And you can see how excited the people are when like the clean water kind of comes out of the system and they're able to drink it. So this was one of our solutions. So yeah, this is our location in the SEDI building. You can find us on the 4th floor. We have an amazing view there. So with the mountains behind, y'all should come take a look there. And here's what we have to offer as a center here. There is real world clients that we deal with, people who really need solutions to problems. And like I mentioned, these are people, the kind of people you're helping are people who are right at the bottom of that pyramid that I showed you. They are people who really need assistance and need help from education systems, people who have some knowledge in what they're doing. You get to do social good through technology or your business knowledge. There is project management that comes into picture and project deployment. Like I mentioned, a huge problem for us is not just creating a product, right? Like you can create a bulb, but creating a business model around that little light bulb, which is created, that's something that's still a problem for us. To be able to market it, to be able to make sure that's economically viable, that people are buying it and things like that, that will always that has been, and we still see that to be a problem as we go ahead with our solutions. Oh, okay. So I'm almost at the end of this talk. I did not want to make it too long, but I've spoken to you about social impact, about the kind of work that it takes to really build a product and the business and things like that. I just want you to take like a couple minutes to reflect and maybe try to redefine this definition of business that I came across. And y'all could add just one word to it. Y'all could add something like there should be some kind of, if you feel there should be, it shouldn't just be for profit, maybe even social impact. So I'd like you to redefine it or maybe add a word or whatever it is and put it on the chat. I'm going to give you like maybe 5 minutes to do that.
So, Ancho, you would like us to put a word into the chat for how we would redefine business?
Sure, you could redefine the entire thing. You could come up with a new definition based off of this. Or if you feel like maybe it's missing a word, y'all could add it. Anything that you feel like after this entire presentation, you feel like maybe business isn't just about profit. What else do you think should be added to this definition of business? Okay, I think we've got some really good answers, and I'm so glad that y'all were able to think of the definition of business to maybe reflect on, maybe it's not just about being profitable, but also creating, like a lot of y'all mentioned, an ecosystem that can sustain, that is maybe somewhere, it doesn't always have to be, but even if it is impactful. um, and I think these are really, really nice, powerful definitions or redefinitions of business. So, thank you. This is my little presentation for y'all. I'm so happy that I got to talk with you today. I hope y'all like this. And if y'all need anything at all, y'all can reach out to me. Y'all can also contact Frugal Innovation Hub through FIH at su.edu. And if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask me right away.
Thank you so much, Anshu, for your insightful presentation. Everyone, let's give a round of applause for Anshu.
Thank you.
Ancho, I have a question.
Mhm.
So right now you're saying that for Frugal Innovation Hub, it's mainly for engineering students,
Mhm.
and you're saying that you probably need some talents for like business plans or marketing plans. So I personally see that as an opportunity that maybe students in MBA school, especially like Net Impact, like we are business school students, we have all these business skills. Do you see that there's a possibility for our students to work with you in the future?
Absolutely, we do. Like this was something that, I brought up to my like directors and associate directors, that they say, yeah, there is a requirement because, like I mentioned, we can make a product, but after that, like the bigger work is to make it into a business model. And a lot of times it's the people in business schools and a lot like yourself in MBA schools who have that kind of expertise and that experience to say, hey, you know what, this might be a good product here, but the market may not need it, or the market might want to see it in a different lens, or maybe we should market it differently, or make it economically viable and things like this. Sometimes we don't, a lot of engineers, they just don't get it. They're like, hey, there's a solution, figure it out. But no, it doesn't happen. So and which is why people from business school are very welcome. We take in, like, if there is because projects keep coming in and we take up different projects, and as there is a requirement, whether it is in terms of creating a business model, whether it's managing projects, and even helping with deployment on site, we bring in talent from business school. So feel free to email this email ID that I've sent you, and tell them you're interested. This is my resume, this is my background, and I'm very sure they'll get back to you.
I really loved this. I'm so glad I joined. And then I think it really makes me realize that there's so many groups and opportunities at Santa Clara that for some reason we just aren't notified at the business school. So I'm really interested in this, and I'm gonna post it to our Slack channel. I know that there's probably a lot of people in our cohort that have no idea that this exists, like me, before today. So can I ask you a question? So what is your typical workflow, right? So if I were to I don't even know what I would do. If I were to join the Frugal Innovation Hub? So am I committing to a certain term? Is it a quarter? Is it per project? And what is the time expectant for those that participate? And then also, what is the source of your projects? Do people come in with ideas? Do people approach the school looking for solutions? Can you speak to time and project sourcing?
Yeah, I'm just going to make a note of your question. It had a bunch of points to address. Right. So you mentioned how the workflow is and what time or like when do you have to come in. So in terms of workflow, here's where I'm going to start with the source. Usually NGOs or like external sources, they will come to you. So our sources could be either companies. Sometimes like Xilinx is a big source that like says like, hey, there's this project, we'd like to get involved with you guys to like start working on it. Or it could be an NGO that says like, or let's just take Galapagos Islands, right? The Chamber of Tourism in Galapagos Islands came to us and they said, we want an application, an app that you can build with like, they didn't want it to be too expensive. Something with a reasonable amount of budget and with students. So those are our sources, external sources, people who are either NGOs or like sometimes parts of the government, like the Chamber of Tourism. So they kind of come to us with problem statements, and we go like in terms of workflow. Once they tell us this is our problem statement, we do a little more investigation, understand all the points that I covered. Is there like a value? Is there an ecosystem that really needs it? What is the context? Is there a culture where people, like, in case we build it, they don't use it, then there's no point, right? So we do that kind of background and investigation as to whether or not this application that they're asking us is really needed. And once that is done, we bring in like engineers. If it's a very app-based product that they need, we start working on it. We also get involved with some of the business students if it is required, like for a business model, etc., depending on the students that come in. So that's the source. You asked about the time and how it happens. So you can come in any quarter. In fact, I came in as a volunteer. I just wanted to be like, hey, this looks like a really cool place with like, it's doing social impact, and you get to talk with like real world clients, etc. So I came in as a volunteer and just started working on one of the projects. And it depends on whether or not it will span through quarters. Sometimes it's just for one quarter. Sometimes it's just one project that you'll be asked for your help. And sometimes there are paid positions. Like if you work on a project, you will be paid for it. Sometimes it's just volunteer work. So it all depends on what is available with us at the time, and the kinds of resources we need, like the kinds of individuals we need for that project. I hope I answered your question, Olivia. You had like a bunch of them.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm just typing this together for my cohort. So thank you so much for that explanation. That's very, very helpful.
Thank you.
I had a follow-up question to everything you just spoke. How do you recruit students, right? So, and you kind of already spoke a little bit, but for example, like if we were to market this a little bit more to cohorts and different people, like how can students check for those projects, right? Like where do they go to see, hey, maybe this project's interesting, I want to get involved? How do they get connected with the hub?
So in terms of recruitment, usually as far as we've seen is we get we put out like, hey, there's a project here. I think this has primarily been in the engineering school, but you know what, since you brought it up, I think we should like start talking about like schools, the business school students as well. So on Workday, we put up like job postings that this is a project you might be interested in to help out, and then like students send in their resumes, we interview them. We also have like professors, faculty who are involved with us, who will talk about like, they sometimes get involved in the recruiting process to see, yeah, this person has the kind of knowledge to deploy this project, or if you're going to manage this project for Frugal Innovation Hub, they might be able to assess and see whether or not they need you, and then you get involved. But if you're doing volunteer work and you just want to see like, how this is going, whether or not you want to test the waters a little bit and just volunteer, you don't have too much pressure because you're volunteering, and you get to know how this whole thing works. So for volunteering, we try to see, we check your resume and we see if there's a requirement in any of our projects. So you're just brought in if there is a requirement and you bring in your resume at the right time, you just get in right away sometimes.
Perfect. Because I was also thinking like we can get, because I know professors, for example, like in my marketing class, we did a project for a real company. And so this is kind of, I think that these projects, if timed well and time, it lines up, it's a really good project to talk to like marketing professors at the business school. There's also other projects, right? Like if you need different expertise, I think there's a lot of room for having our schools talk to each other and then seeing how we can benefit from collaborating. So that's why I wanted to have some questions. So maybe this is another chat that we can do more offline for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. I just want to say thank you.
No, you're right. In fact, like it, after doing like getting involved, I didn't know a whole lot when I came in here. I came in here as a volunteer, but there is a different kind of satisfaction in completing a project here, or like knowing, because you really know that you made an impact to a community, like while you're in college. And because once you're out of here, usually you start working for a corporate company, and you get tied into that and get looped into the kind of work and the workflow that happens here. But here, when you implement a project and you see like people actually, like say for example, pedal for purification, right? Those people, if you see the video, they're so happy, like they got like clean water. And that's a completely different kind of joy when you're working here, for all students, whether they're in engineering school or business school. And I feel like, you're right. A collaboration is something that I will bring up to, my superiors as well. Rashmi, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Thank you so much, Anja. I have a follow-up question to what Juan asked about. So if it is a volunteer opportunity, or even like being part of a project, is it typically like an internship, or is it a part-time work that you can spend part of your time doing and partly, taking courses? How is it set up?
Yeah, I mean, volunteering is how you want to volunteer. We're going to ask you, what is your availability? How long can you sort of contribute to the project? There is no pressure, right? Like if you can contribute 4 hours a week to this project, we respect that. And we will work around the time that you have, and we tell you that these are the things that need to be done. And if you feel like I cannot contribute more, or if there is a requirement, we'll bring in like some more people. But that's how it works. It kind of works especially if you're volunteering. We work around your schedule, and it's okay because you're giving in your time. But if you happen to be recruited as like one of the students to be working on the project who gets paid, then there are, like, of course, like any job, there are deadlines to be met, and there is a the workflow that has to happen for it.
Great, thanks, Anshul. Yeah, like I think Juan mentioned, it would be great to, get a tie-up like this, because there are many marketing courses. There's the new product innovation course. There are courses like these that could really, benefit from these real world projects. I think that would be great. And for clubs, right? We can help out between us, the Net Impact Club, there's the product club, there's all these clubs as well who can participate in projects like these as well.
Yep, and having students from different sort of curriculums, and you also get a different perspective. Like I said, I'm an engineer myself, and I happen to work with a lot of engineers, and their sort of thinking is along one path. But if you bring in someone from another background, there's more diversity in the way they think. You'll start thinking, hey, what about like these people? Maybe they can also come in and give in more ideas to the project. So yeah, I agree with you, Rashmi.
And maybe, Anshul, just another thought, if there are opportunities, maybe going through the career center as well, like Colleen or someone at the career center would be great, because they send out these postings, right, weekly, and students would know more about it as well then.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be telling we'll have a meeting and probably tell them about this career center, I'm sure. Thank you.
Does anyone have any more questions for Anshu?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So if you could name the number one thing that the Frugal Innovation Hub really needs, what is it?
All right. Number one, we need the product, like whatever it is they're requiring. It's usually around like a technological product. But the number two thing is a business model. Once the product is made, then we need a way to ensure it sustains in the market. It like whoever we're building it for, there is some way that it will remain helping them. And so I would say there are two things. The first thing is the product, and usually it's technologically involved. Um, and the second thing is developing that business model around it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Anyone have any more questions?
I really enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm so excited about it.
Thank you, Olivia.
I didn't realize my bicycle can purify water, and I feel like if that ever comes around as a need, I should dust it off.
Yep, and you know what? It's all kind of out there. There's a video on how they do it so that, it helps as many people as possible. You could try that as a project at home too, in case you're interested.
Yeah, thank you, Anshul. Like this is really great, and as we can see that there's a lot of opportunity for business school students here. Like right before we started this event, we were just talking about like, oh, next quarter we have a new product innovation class. So usually in that class, like we have this process of going through the whole process of innovating a new product, and then like come up with the roadmap, product roadmap, and all those sort. Yeah, so I think this is a great opportunity, and thank you everyone for joining this event. And of course, like our club and Frugal Innovation Hub will definitely keep in touch, and hopefully we can cooperate in the future. Yeah.
Yep, thank you so much once again for inviting me here and being able to talk to all of y'all. I look forward to interacting more. Thank you so much.
And yes, before you all go, I think Rashmi, we're having another event coming up. So please make sure you look out for our emails so we can see you next time. We have lots of interesting things coming up. So stay tuned.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
for your
Bye.
time, Anshul. Great presentation. And it's so good to know more about what's happening within the university. This is awesome.
Thank you.